Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I'm Amber Churchwell.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss a legendary TV show that we've never talked about before. That show is Doctor Who. Now, if you've been following us, and hopefully you are following us, hope you're enjoying what we're doing, you know that we've been very busy this summer. We have been doing weekly reviews of House of the Dragon. We did the Boys weekly reviews of Interview with the Vampire. We did a season 3 of the Bear wrap-up episode. Also, we reviewed every single movie that had Deadpool and or Wolverine in it because we were getting ready for Deadpool and Wolverine, that awesome movie, which we reviewed last weekend. And all of this to say that, like I said, we've been really busy. So now we're catching up on some stuff that we wanted to talk about. We just didn't have time during the summer. And we're starting with a series that literally me and Brittany know almost nothing about. However, thankfully, we have our very own Time Lord with us. Dr. Amber is here to pilot this pod, just like she would the TARDIS. So, Amber, I want to throw it to you. Doctor Who is, I think, one of your favorite things from talking to you. So, how long have you been a fan, and what does this show mean to you?
I started really being a fan in 2005 with the reboot, the first reboot. This is the second reboot. Because the show is 60 years old as of November 2023. And, but my dad was a fan since he was a little boy. Like, he thinks he was maybe around 6 or 7 the first time he actually remembers sitting and watching Doctor Who. And he was a lifelong fan and just an enjoyer of it. And it kind of stopped around the 80s, and like late 80s is kind of when it ended, I guess, in 90s. And then there was a kind of a movie, didn't do too well, it kind of flopped, and they canceled it. They just didn't continue. And then in 2005 they did a reboot, and that was like, I was the perfect age bracket for it. And a lot of people like online, like kids my age online, were talking about it. It was really big in the fandoms because of it was around the time of Supernatural, and because Supernatural started in 2005 as well, and Sherlock, and a whole bunch of other. Yes, this is Brittany's fulfilling the Super Who lock.
I am one of you. I am one.
So it's very. I was just kind of perfect age and the perfect time for. To get into Doctor Who, and I was talking about this new show I was watching, and my dad was like, "You've seen Doctor Who when you were a kid. Like, you sat and watched episodes with me," because I apparently have watched old Who, but I don't remember too much. So I've been a fan since 2005, but according to my dad, all my life. But it's really, really fun. It's very, very different. Our like my reboot. So, like, to him, Doctor Who, to me, I think of David Tennant, Matt Smith, Christopher Eccleston, but my dad, if you ask him, he would think of, like, Tom Baker and Peter Davison and stuff like that. It's just, we have completely different views of the same show, and I think that's really, really cool, because it's a legacy that's gone on for so long, and it's a perfect medium for it to continue to go on as long as people still love it.
Yeah. And so what we're doing today, we're talking about, like Amber said, the show's been around for 60 years, making it the longest running sci-fi series of all time. We are here to talk about, the show had 3 specials in late 2023. They ran from November 25th to December 9th, 2023. And then leading up to the new season, which started technically on Christmas Day 2023, but then also continued in May of this year. So Amber, if you could kind of talk us, explain to us the specials and like the reason for the specials. Is it simply just to celebrate the 60 years? Is that the whole reason why they did that? Or do they need a bridge to get to the next Doctor?
Kind of both. It was because of the reboot. Because moving from, it's still on BBC, always has been, but right. It's now partnering with Disney Plus. They they wanted to have fresh and new audiences, so it wanted to be approachable by new people. So that's why they did a soft reboot, because there are still things like, I, as a longtime fan, I still very much enjoy this reboot, and I don't feel like, oh, I already know this. I don't feel like that at all. I think they did really well with making it. I know that there might be some questions you guys have, but they did it for the 60th because, like you said, the first special came out on November 25th, but November 23rd is the actual 60th anniversary. So for the 50th anniversary, they did this great big thing. It had 3 doctors in it. It was almost like movie production like thing for the 50th anniversary. So for the 60th, it was kind of a reboot, introducing a new doctor, introducing David Tennant as the Doctor again, because this is the second
right
time he's regenerated into that face, but technically the third time that David Tennant's played the Doctor. And so it was just kind of introducing everybody, and a reboot, and the 60th, and introducing to Disney. It was just a good transition is kind of what it was. And we are picking up right off last season, which was season 13. So
right.
if you go in 2005, otherwise it's like season 40 or something.
Right. Yeah. So the season we're going to talk about really next week is the 14th series. However, it's the 40th season of the show overall, and the show's been running for 60 years. So a lot of numbers, kind of confusing.
And like Disney Plus calls it season 1 too, so it makes it even more confusing.
Exactly. Brittany, before we get into the episodes, do you have any comments or questions maybe that Amber can answer before we get going into the episodes?
Yes.
I mean, this is something that Amber and I have talked a lot off screen, of course. You know, we've been friends now for many years through Instagram, and it's because of Amber that I have a obsession with Supernatural, and we already shared a love for BBC Sherlock, and now I know how deeply the love runs deep for Amber with Doctor Who, and so of course here we wanted to make that happen. We wanted to give her the opportunity to share her love with the rest of the world. And we've got a couple people here in the chat today. We got M Moves and King B Johnson. Thank y'all for being here. And M Moves says, I've never seen the show. I'm here for vibes and the podcast. Maybe it'll pique my interest. So we appreciate you being here and learning, just like Justin and I will be learning a lot from Amber. At this time, I really don't have a whole lot of questions. I mean, once we start delving into the episodes, of course, there will be questions. But I think it's just funny for Justin, you and myself, that a lot of these actors that have played Doctor Who, we've seen in other, large franchises like the MCU, House of the Dragon, Harry Potter, for a lot of us, really. And it's just kind of funny how a lot of these actors have some kind of tying back to Doctor Who. And me personally, this is like one of the first things I told Amber when watching the first special. I didn't think I could take Catherine Tate seriously after watching her on The Office, because I mean, she was, I think, on the original Office, the UK version of the Office, and so also the US version. And so I'm like, she's a comedian, like she's funny. Like I don't know if I could see her in a serious role. And she surprised me. She truly actually surprised me in a more, it's different. It's not like haha funny always, but it's a little dramatic and kind of situation. So yeah, I mean, I came into this with a very open mind. I still am, going to watch the rest of these episodes with an open mind. But yeah, it's definitely been a long time coming for us here with Amber joining us to talk about something she loves so much.
Yeah. So for people like for M Moves out there, Amber, could you explain two things real quick? Explain who Doctor Who is, not necessarily like each individual doctor, because there's multiple versions, right?
Yes.
But like Doctor Who is an alien Time Lord. Can you explain that? And also explain what the TARDIS is, because actually you're inside of a TARDIS right now.
I am. I'm inside. This is. Okay, I'll get into that. I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna go in order.
Okay.
That you asked the questions. That's probably
Stick to the script. No, I'm kidding. Go
that's
ahead.
probably logical. And anyway, well, the Doctor Who originally started as an educational show for children. They used to go into the past to teach history, and in the future to teach science. I think that's just kind of neat, and it kind of just developed its own, I guess, mythology and storyline, and just eventually drew away from being educational to being just its own plot and its own story. Well, the reason that there are multiple people who have played the Doctor, it is the same character. The Doctor is, yes, an alien. He is he. It's complicated. I'm going to go with the original. So he is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey, and Time Lords basically peacefully, well, they were kind of conquerors, but they ruled over the galaxy in a way where they controlled all of time and space. So that's what they did. They upheld the rules and consequences of time. And Time Lords themselves are kind of a pompous bunch. They're not really great. They're pretty bad. The Doctor was kind of on the run, and this is the first Doctor. He was on the run, and he stole a TARDIS, which is a TARDIS stands for Time and Relative Dimensions in Space. So it is a space and time machine. So it's a ship. It's a thing. It is bigger on the inside. You can see it behind them in both Justin and Brittany's backgrounds. That's the TARDIS, the blue box. When he stole the TARDIS, the first Doctor, when he stole the TARDIS and ran away with his granddaughter, Susan, they landed in the 60s, because that's when it started. And in the 60s, they had police call boxes. The TARDISes, they have like a chameleon circuit, which blends into the background of anything. It's supposed to be just so people don't go into the ship. They don't find it suspicious. Problem is the chameleon circuit broke, and he hasn't gotten around to fixing it. And at this point, he doesn't want to fix it. So that's why it remains the big blue box from the 60s. So that's that. But when a Time Lord or Gallifreyan gets to the fatally wounded or sick or is dying, all of the cells in their body regenerate, and that creates another incarnation of the Doctor. And the reason that they did that initially was because originally the Doctor was just thought to be like an old professor, humanoid, but they created a plot with it, and the first Doctor unfortunately passed away quite suddenly from a heart attack. So they needed something to do, and they created this thing. Oh, well, he's an alien and they can regenerate. So that started the tradition of every time an actor, for either personal or logistical reasons, they tend to leave the show, then the Doctor gets hurt of some sort, and they regenerate into something different. So it is. I'm sorry, I was lagging.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we had some audio issues there, but I think you're back.
Sorry.
Looks like you're back. That's okay. Go ahead.
Problems with the time vortex, I guess. Well, the TARDIS actually, not always every regeneration, but usually he regenerates inside his TARDIS, and the TARDIS usually changes with them. And little fun fact about TARDISes is Time Lords and their TARDISes have a psychic connection. So he can basically communicate with the TARDIS, and the TARDIS can communicate with him.
Comes
There
in
have been
handy.
episodes of it. Yeah. That's kind of how he's mainly able to fly the ship, because the proper way to fly a TARDIS, you need 6 people. So he doesn't always have that. So it's I'm very glad it moves that time travel piqued your interest. But it's just a lot of kooky sci-fi. It's some episodes are a little campy. Some of them are silly. Some of them are serious and beautiful and tragic. But the kind of MO of the Doctor is he loves humans and he loves humanity. And he usually travels with a human companion. Not always human, but usually a companion. And they go on adventures in time and space. And Donna, as you see in these specials, she was a previous companion. She was in a guest star episode in 2006. She came back in 2007 because, like you said, she is a comedian. Catherine Tate is a comedian. She was a guest star because everybody's been on if you're British, you've been in Doctor Who. It's a thing. Yeah.
There's not like, I mean, the British actors and actresses, like there's not a large pool of them like here in the States. So it's kind of like the reason you see a lot of the same British actors and actresses in films is because there's not a whole lot of them. So it seems like it's a rite of passage, to be successful abroad or in the UK, you've got to be on Doctor Who. Like that's when you know you've made it. You're on Doctor Who. Like you're there. You're solid. So
Moaning Myrtle is in Doctor Who.
Yes, I did. Yes, just not in the way I would have anticipated that.
Yeah, she was in Old Who.
Yeah,
classic.
I did a little research. Yeah,
the reboot. But a lot of it's just. But Donna, they kind of explain it a little bit in this that Donna, she was because people liked her one spin-off, one episode character so much that they're like, bring her back. So after he lost one companion, Martha. I love Martha. They brought in her. They brought in Catherine Tate to play Donna Noble again, and she traveled with the Doctor for one season, and that season ended with him having to wipe her memories to save her life. And
which is what we see going into the special. That's what happened before. Right. Okay. Just real quick, I want to mention, Brittany, you kind of touched on this, but I want to mention some of the notable doctors, some of the notable actors. The 9th Doctor was Christopher Eccleston, which he played for our audience, and for me, he played the Dark Elf Malekith in Thor: Dark World. So you might remember that actor. The 10th Doctor was Dr. David Tennant, which we will talk about in this episode because he's also the 14th Doctor. The 11th Doctor was Matt Smith, of course, from House of the Dragon. He was also in Morbius. And then in that season,
that's right.
Yeah,
and was he in the Crown too?
He's also in the Crown.
Yes, he's Prince Philip.
But when he was the Doctor, one of his companions, I believe, was Karen Gillan, who plays Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy. It was like her first ever thing she ever did.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool stuff. The 12th Doctor was Peter Capaldi. Peter Capaldi, for me, most notably, he was in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad a couple of years ago. He played the Thinker, one of the villains. And then the 13th Doctor was actually the first female Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. Those are just kind of like some notable things I want to throw out there. And another notable thing for me was the fact that in the late 70s and 80s, Marvel Comics published Doctor Who comic books here in the States. So
I was going to tell you that as a surprise.
Oh,
kind of bummed you found it.
Okay, well, that's all I really have is the fact that they no longer are. But do you have anything you want to add to that? Okay.
No.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Really quick, I will mention before we get off of like the premise of Doctor Who, his name is just the Doctor. It's not the Doctor Who. The title of Doctor Who is a joke, because he introduces himself as the Doctor, and people are like Doctor Who, and he's like, anyway, and it's a joke. So he is just the Doctor. That is just like the Meep. And there are Time Lords usually pick a they pick their own title. Like there's other ones that we have met in the past, and the Toymaker references in the 3rd special. My favorite.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, no, that was a great
Anyways,
one. Let's get to the specials. And now, of course, I want to talk about the cast real quick. Just mention the names and we're going to get right to it. Stars David Tennant, Catherine Tate, Miriam, Margolyes, Neil Patrick Harris, Jacqueline King, Karl Collins, Bernard Cribbins, Jemma Redgrave, Bonnie Langford, Ruth Madeley, Yasmin Finney, Millie Gibson, and Ncuti Gatwa, which is that's the new doctor for at the end of this. Spoiler alert: his name does not look like Ncuti. Just saying. I had to watch a video where he pronounced it for me to understand how to say his
I
name.
think I saw an interview of him pronouncing it, and not only that, his mother like says it's like, no, you're mispronouncing it, and he's just like, wait a minute, like, how can I mispronounce it? You gave me this name, and she's like, no, you're not saying it right. It's actually this, and he goes, well, how am I supposed to know that when you've never told me that? Which he's got an interesting background. I looked him up, of course, in preparation for this pod, and I think he's brilliant. I think he's brilliant as Doctor Who, from what I've seen thus far. So yeah.
Soul Nate in the chat just mentioned a good point. Bonnie Langford was definitely a companion. She plays. She was Mel Bush, and I have the date right. So she traveled with the 6th and 7th Doctor. She was a companion. So she has seen a regeneration before this special. So she knew what was happening. She knew when she saw the regeneration energy, she knew instantly what was happening, and that's why she went to him to help him. But she traveled with the Doctor starting in 1986.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, let's talk about the first special episode. Aired November 25th, titled The Star Beast. It was written by showrunner Russell T. Davies. Brittany, I want to get your thoughts. What did you think about this episode overall? Were there things that obviously this was my first experience with Doctor Who. I believe it's your first also. So first impressions of the first special.
I actually watched this with John and long distantly with Amber. We were watching this at the exact same time, of course, texting each other throughout the whole thing, which is what we did during Supernatural. And just comments here and there. It's like questions, or she would fill me in about like, oh, that's so and so. We like so and so, and it's like, okay, like that's because for me, I started getting a little sus about certain characters, right? If they're like government type officials, and like, oh, there's like a hidden agenda somewhere, amongst these people. Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of like I'm very sus. There was some surprising. I say surprising because given how long this show has been running, some decisions about characters. I was surprised that Catherine Tate's character's daughter is transgender, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, like that's cool. That's like keeping up with modern times or what have you. And it's not really about like if you're trying to offend somebody or not. I think it's just like showing just the evolution of time, given that the Doctor is a Time Lord. And so I thought that was kind of cool. That was not what I expected, like right out the gate. But it was a little, I won't say overwhelming, but not like in a negative sense. It's just knowing that there's so much history and lore and such a huge fan base leading up to this special. It's like I feel like jumping in and then you kind of get hit in the face with the story. It's like, okay, I really feel like I'm missing a lot of information. And John and I talked about it afterwards, and it's like, okay, like did we just like dive in with like feet first and just like it went right over our heads? And the answer is yes. This is something I expressed to Amber. She's like, this is totally normal. I'm like, okay, good to know. Very
it is expected.
Yeah, it's very British, which is fine. Like I've watched a lot of British television, and it's very it's different from what we get here in the US, of course. But yeah, I kind of felt a little disjointed in a way. I'm like, these are like established characters, and I don't know who the hell they are, right? But I think for what we were given, the kind of brief intro by the Doctor speaking to us, the audience, directly, and kind of flashbacking to things that happened prior to the special beginning, I'm like, okay, I kind of have an idea, but then like I feel like I can't quite keep up, and I'm not fully invested in it because I don't fully understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we were looking for an entry point for this world because it's been around for 60 years. And I agree with you, Brittany, at the beginning, but then I think once you kind of get, going through the episodes, then you kind of understand why the specials are kind of a bridge. They bring back David Tennant's doctor, who apparently was maybe the most popular. Is that right, Amber?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the most popular by far. Like most people, especially like in my generation and bracket, like he is a crowd favorite. That's why he's been brought back so many times, and he himself is a personal fan of Doctor Who his entire life. But yeah, he's very, very popular. But people have like really strong feelings about who their favorite Doctor is. So that's a can of worms.
real quick before we move forward, Soul Nate has a question here in the chat. Did y'all watch as children? How old were you before the opened music stopped freaking you out? Made me cry, apparently. So Nate, thank you for the question. We appreciate you asking. This is the first time that Justin and myself have ever
First time
watched.
watcher. Yeah,
first time watcher. We're both first time watchers. Amber down here in her TARDIS is the end all be all for Doctor Who. She is our Time Lord here. So it's because of her we're here reviewing the specials, and we will be reviewing the quote season 1 of Doctor Who on Disney Plus as well.
But to answer your question, Soul Nate, I don't remember the first time I watched it because I was very young. My dad was a lifelong fan. He remembers when he was like maybe 6 or 7 when he started watching, 5, 6 or 7. Young. He started really young watching Doctor Who. And then I started watching in 2005. And he told me afterwards when he found out that I had been watching Doctor Who, he's like, you watched that when you were a kid, and I don't remember. So I'm sorry that the time vortex made you cry, though. Hopefully not anymore. It's so pretty.
I mean, I do like the theme song. I think it's a very cool theme song. Yeah.
Yeah, the opening graphics were really cool. Like, I like the music. It felt
so pretty.
It felt very very appropriate. Like if I see something like that, that's kind of what I'm hearing in my head. Like just I don't know. It's cool.
For me, we mentioned some of the humanoid characters. What we haven't mentioned is this furry alien known as the Meep. And the Meep is very meek when we meet this character. And I gotta say, I was fooled. I did not see the heel turn coming. I did not see this being the villain of the episode. Spoiler alert, by the way. I didn't see that coming, which I thought that was interesting. I do want to say this show, it looks very well made. Like, it looks better than every other kind of Disney Plus show, and I'm including Marvel and
Star Wars.
Star Wars especially. Yeah, come on. Like, literally, me with my cell phone and a green screen, it's better than Star Wars. But
oh man,
but even some of the Marvel stuff. But I do have one nitpick. The insect, I'm going to call them parademons because they remind me of the parademons from DC Comics. The insect soldiers or whatever didn't look great. But everything
I think that's the campiness that like Amber was talking about. It's probably like an homage to the old school effects of Doctor Who, because this is the 60th anniversary. Like, when we first saw the Meep, I said to Amber, I texted her, I go, what in the Yoda? Like, I was because it gave me Yoda vibes, the big eyes, the sideways ears, and what have you, and just how it's, of course it doesn't speak backwards, but it had a unique way of speaking. And then I learned, I'm sorry,
third person. It says like the Meep.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Meep is sad. The Meep is what.
Well, and then when I learned
definite article.
Yeah.
And then when I learned who voiced the Meep, I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm just absolutely done. I was not expecting Professor Sprout to be the one voicing the Meep. I'm like, are you kidding me?
And by the way, that's Miriam Margolyes, correct?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. But
So-
that heel turn, did not see that coming either. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, the show's crazy. Amber, what are your thoughts on the first special episode?
I knew that this was going to be like the soft reboot, so part of me was kind of trying to look at it like, okay, if I'm a first time viewer, how is this going to be enjoyable? So that's kind of why I told you guys to take it with a grain of salt, because it does really dive headfirst into it, and like I was telling Brittany, that's kind of an homage, because the 2005 reboot that I started with, same exact thing, because how you meet this one girl, she's a normal human. Rose, she's on like her normal day-to-day life, going to school. Not school, going to work. And at her workplace, creepy stuff starts happening because of aliens. And she meets this guy, the Ninth Doctor, and he literally just says, "I'm the Doctor," and he grabs her hand and he says, "Run." And they run together. And he gets her out of the building, and he goes back, and shortly after, that building explodes. She ends up running into him later, and she becomes his first companion in the reboot. Rose is actually where I got my name, Bad Wolf, here. She kind of haunts the narrative, and that's actually why, because what we learn in the episode at the end of the Star Beast, that the Time Lord energy of Donna passed into her daughter Rose. That's why Rose chose that name when she transitioned. Because
nice.
Because Rose Tyler, I'm telling you, Rose Tyler haunts the narrative. She's everywhere. And the Doctor does have, it's very, very new. The classic Doctor Who did not have romances, but New Who does have romances, and Rose was a great love of the Doctor's. One of them. So, but that's exactly how it happened with her, and with the first reboot. Is just he just grabs you and says run, and you go in and you just dive into this, just like Rose did. And that's kind of the same energy that they brought to this, and I think that works well. And they explained what they need to, brushed over what they didn't. Had enough references that older fans can be like, hey, there's a few things, but it's just, I really, really enjoyed it. And it has, like I said, the campiness, the silliness, the goofiness that Doctor Who was kind of known for. Because it is, like, the effects of even the reboot, honestly hilarious. A lot of it was practical, like practical makeup and stuff, but it's just so funny. One of the main villains of the show is just a whisk and a plunger for arms.
Okay.
Like, I'm telling you, it just, campiness and goofiness is kind of a thing there, and then there are some spooky episodes once in a while. It's sci-fi. That's just how it is.
One of the thing I was telling Amber, especially with the kickoff of that first episode, where there's like something falling from the sky and everyone's looking up at it but Donna, and it's like, oh, it's an airplane, look. It's very calm, and the Doctor's like, no, it's not an airplane, it's a spaceship. And then it's like, oh, it's a spaceship again. Everyone's still calm, Donna's still doing her thing, and then it crashes and everyone then just goes about their day. I'm like, I love the fact that everyone just kind of accepts the fact that stuff like this happens in London all the freaking time, and no one like questions it at this
many
point.
times.
Yeah, it's just like it's like superheroes, they just exist, and we just live in their world, and that's all there is to it. I'm like, okay, there's just no thought behind it. It just is. That was kind of funny to me. And then there's this, I guess, government entity called UNIT that apparently works with the Doctor at times, because I can't remember the lady's name in the wheelchair, but she seemed to know who the Doctor was, and it was just like, very like picking up where they left off kind of situation, and we got to investigate, and what do you want me to do, and what have you. But the doctor can't be around Donna because of whatever had happened when she possessed, what was it, the Time Lord's memory?
The mind of a Time Lord.
Okay, I'm really trying to like piece things together, so bear with me, y'all. Like I'm brand
Human
new
brains
at this.
can't compute
And
Gallifreyan
today,
brains. We can't.
And today, my brain just can't compute as it is. I blame lots of factors, but apparently, literally, if the doctor is remembered by Donna, she will die. And the first person that she sees is the doctor. And it's like, oh, this is starting off great. I was a little sus about the grandma. She was trying to constantly change subjects and like, oh no, spaceships aren't real. Aliens aren't real. None of this is real. I'm like, she knows something. She knows something. So
she just didn't want Donna to die. Because I mean, if she
well,
remembers anything, it's not even just
right.
remembers him. She
Yeah.
remembers anything, and
yeah, it was an interesting kickoff episode. Like I said, there was just a lot to absorb. There's a lot to try to keep up with, of course, and I did appreciate how they were kind of able to circumvent the whole like once Donna inevitably remembered who the doctor was, like she quote died, but she really didn't die because the very fact that she did have an offspring, her daughter, and those powers or whatever transferred to the child, and so they're both operating at 50% of of whatever, and but together they can do amazing things. Because I'm like, how the hell is this girl at the controllers like knowing what to do? And then like I sent Amber that text, and then it was like, oh, never mind, it just got answered. Like my bad. So I appreciate like the quickness and being able to answer like the questions that are developing in your mind, right? So it's like they know.
Yeah, and what's kind of a lot of people, some people were very, very upset with this episode because of the of Rose being transgender, and their whole because Time Lord because the doctor can be male, female, or both, or neither. Some people were very, very mad about that, but also Doctor Who has been like this for 60 years. Jodie Whittaker was the first female to play the Doctor, but we did know that Gallifreyans can do that. That's kind of a thing. We have seen it happen, and also there's a moment with, I think it was the first or second Doctor, maybe fourth, I don't know. Old Classic Who, where they had almost the exact same conversation that the Doctor had with the Meep, where the Doctor kind of assumed the Meep's gender, and Rose called him out on it. Some people were kind of like, "Oh, Doctor Who's trying to be woke," but the Meep said, "The Meep uses the definite article. Will always be the Meep," and the Doctor was like, "Oh, I do that." Because they had exact same conversation. He's like, I use the definite article. I'm the doctor. I am always the doctor. Mm-hmm. And because we have Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor, we usually, fandom-wise, we'll just if we're referring to all of the Doctors collectively as a character, we'll just say they.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But if we're talking about a specific one, we will use that presenting gender.
So I have a question about the 13th. So the 13th Doctor, like you said, is Jodie Whittaker. Mm-hmm. We don't see the 13th Doctor regenerate into the 14th Doctor, which happened to be David Tennant, who is also the 10th Doctor. So did that happen off screen, or is there something I'm missing?
To cut it short, yeah, you're missing it. It's from the finale of season 13.
Okay.
The finale of season 13, Jodie 13 ended up getting wounded and needed to regenerate, and was going to regenerate. And it was a beautiful shot scene. We had no idea who. Usually we have kind of like guesstimates, or we can like, oh, this person was brought in for Doctor Who. They might be the new Doctor. Like it's usually leaked somewhere. we had no idea. We thought David Tennant was just doing like a guest star appearance thing because he's done it before for the 50th. But no, he regenerated. 13 regenerated into 14, David Tennant. And that's kind of a premise for the face, because when he regenerated, he was like, he realized he was the same face and everything. And he's like, what? Because he's never regenerated with the same face before. So that's kind of a catalyst. And that's why he even mentions in the beginning of the Star Beast, like, why did this face come back? And then I meet Donna, like, why is this happening? And that all of that's kind of answered at the end of the giggle, the third one.
Okay.
All right.
So is there anything else?
We saw the regeneration off screen. It was last season.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to mention from this first episode, this first special?
Not. I think we covered most of it. I will talk about the Sonic really quick because I love Sonic, the Sonic screwdriver. The Sonic screwdriver being able to make a screen, that's new, and I freaked out. And seeing the Gallifreyan made me happy. But they also the Sonic being able to resonate concrete, that is a thing. But in the reboot, the 2005 version series, it took a long time. Like, it took a length of an entire episode one time for him to resonate concrete. And one thing that people started kind of to notice is that there are certain things that he does now, especially the 15th Doctor, Gatwa, that he does in season 1 that are kind of direct parallels to answering problems from past. So it took a long time for him to resonate concrete before. Cool, I'm going to fix that now, so that doesn't happen again. And we'll see in the 4th special, on the Christmas special, I'll talk about another thing.
So he had time. He had time to fix that, but not the time to fix the chameleon, whatever or other for the TARDIS. So, got it. Okay.
Yeah, I just chalk it up to laziness at this point. Yeah. And then I think he was a little lazy. And then he just, after so long of it being a police call box, he's just like, I like it. Stay in.
Got it.
Speaking of the police call box, also called the TARDIS, the end of episode or the first special shows Donna and the Doctor. They're on the newly rebuilt TARDIS, and it goes haywire, and they're out of control. And that leads us to the second episode, or second special, titled "Wild Blue Yonder." Brittany, what'd you think about this episode?
So yeah, I wasn't anticipating a supernatural sort of effect, or in so many ways references not directly to the show, but just the kind of, I won't even say horror, it was just kind of a thriller, suspenseful sort of vibe, sort of theme with these creatures that end up mimicking or cloning themselves, if you will, into the Doctor and Donna. But to me, Amber, and I'm going to talk to you about this kind of directly, it kind of gave me shapeshifter vibes, of course, and being able to possess like memories to a degree and what have you. They just couldn't fully copy themselves until I guess they reached a certain point. And I didn't really fully understand, but I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting the use of salt at all to try.
That's new.
That was so crazy. Real quick before we continue, hi and bye to Christian of McDorks. He says he loves Doctor Who, but he has to go hi and bye. So thank you for being here. Come back and watch later. Okay. So you can let us know about Doctor Who. That being said, so yeah, I was not expecting there to be like sort of a spooky type episode that fast, but I guess considering this is like a reboot of a reboot, you're going to get like a little bit of everything when it comes to Doctor Who. So I was just like, what in the supernatural is this? So I can't say it's my favorite episode. And I
Understandable.
I was like, what the hell is this? So yeah, that was interesting. But I will say, from episode one, special one to special two, cliffhanger was done very well. Same for special 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. Cliffhangers were done very well. It kept me like, oh, okay, what's happening now?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that respect. And I did think that the aliens who could duplicate Donna and the doctor, I thought they were I think that was an interesting episode because there are parts where I didn't know who was who, and I think we're not supposed to know who was who
Hmm.
while watching Doctor Who. But you know, the limbs, the fact that their limbs, like they'd have longer arms or longer legs or whatever, was kind of like body horror, like you mentioned, Brittany. I thought it was interesting to kind of you know, just like y'all are saying, it's kind of a Doctor Who's kind of a mixed bag of all these different types of genres. So
Mhm.
I enjoyed the episode. Amber, now let's get your expert thoughts on everything that happened in Wild Blue Yonder.
Um, there's another episode in the previous seasons called Midnight, where we don't see what it is and we never get an actual answer about what it is. That episode is actually terrifying. Like, hypothetically, I'm not going to get into the episode specifically because we're talking about Wild Blue Yonder. But the whole thing with Wild Blue Yonder is it's the uncanny valley effect. Like, that's why humans are going to be naturally scared of that. But I think most living humanoid beings, so including the doctor, will be scared of something like that because it looks like you, but it's not you. And I mean, that's like kind of where we get descriptions of the Fae. That's why people are scared of clowns and puppets and dolls and things like that because of the uncanny valley effect. Yes, Brittany?
No. I'm just saying. You said puppets and clowns. F those guys. F those guys.
I know the giggle was fun for you. I know. I Wild Blue Yonder was kind of just that one was kind of diving really into the sci-fi bit of it. And I think that's because they focus so hard on the whimsical, magical campiness of with the Star Beast. So going into that, going into from directly that into just really only two characters are in it, except Newton at the beginning. But
Oh yeah, Mavity. He's
Madeley.
like, what was that delightful word? He's like saying all these things that rhyme with gravity, and he lands on Mavity.
Yeah, because he didn't hear them wrong. And I think it was really funny that Donna ends up saying Mavity, and they keep it up in season 1. Like they just keep
Yeah,
it's
I
now Mavity forever.
I noticed it in special number 4. I heard it again too, and I was just like, okay, this is. I was afraid that because he had or they had gone back in time that changed like the course of history or something like that, and because gravity is not named gravity, it's Mavity. It's like, okay, what else did that break, in history? And we've watched way too much like multiverse stuff here in the Watchers of the Basement, and that's where my brain went. I'm like, oh, apparently that had no effect whatsoever. Okay, fine, sure. We'll go with
That's
that.
I think that's kind of one thing that I do enjoy because, like, compared to where we were with Loki and discussing Loki, so many time things, every small little step has like a huge impact. Here it's just kind of like sometimes things are just silly, and that's okay. And gravity is not gravity, and that's fine. Um, but it's just kind of I do think I really do. I was very as an old time fan and seeing Donna with the Doctor again. They just have such a beautiful, delightful energy, and they, like I was telling Brittany, that it's very much just like sibling energy.
Mhm.
They're kind of they just kind of riff off each other really well, and they mesh so well, and I love them so much. Like the joke that they made, the gravity of the situation to
Yeah.
Newton, I was dying of laughter, and I It was great. When actually these specials came out, I went to back home to visit around Christmas time, and we watched all the specials together, me and my dad, and my nephew joined us. So we kind of were spreading the Doctor Who into the rest of the family. But I was a little nervous, thinking that this episode was going to be too scary for my nephew, and he was scared, but he loved it. But then he asked me very hard questions about me to explain what the edge of the universe meant.
Could you explain that to me?
No, I can't even fathom it. I think the Doctor did a great job explaining it, because I can't. And yeah, McDork's like, I love Doctor Who so much, and I'm so happy with more projects. Definitely, if you can stay in the chat and stuff like that, if you can listen, I understand if you're busy, but like, I would like to have somebody else who knows it to talk with. But yes, it's I really, really liked this episode because it was a little spooky, and it reminded me instantly of Midnight. And when I went online afterwards, it reminded a lot of people of Midnight. And there are other kind of spooky episodes of Doctor Who, like ones with weeping angels, and other monsters and things. So I thought it was amazingly done, and it shows really the acting skills of Catherine Tate and David Tennant, because they are pretty much the only characters for majority of this episode.
I think, like you said, I think they were the only characters besides Sir Isaac Newton, right? The only humans in the
we saw a maid of Newton's, but
okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But that's it. Yeah, like I just think it really showed their performances and their prowess and how they work together and how they work really well. I thought it was wonderful. And thank you, McDorks. I'm glad you liked it. I wanted to do that intentionally. Yes, Weeping Angels do need to come back, but I'm so scared of them. So we are not talking about that. Because, Brittany and Justin don't know what they are. So.
No clue.
We will not discuss them until they need to be discussed. Which, if they come back.
Okay. Do they come back in this season we're going to watch, or is that a spoiler?
No, but the Toymaker does reference them.
Okay.
When talking about past companions.
Okay. Very cool.
That's all you know for now.
Is there anything else from this episode you want to talk about before we move on to the giggle?
Not for a little bit. Like Brittany was saying with the salt line and invoking the supernatural, the Doctor even does say at the end of the episode, he's like, I wonder if that's going to like have any impact on things, and it does. We see that at the end with the Toymaker, because they tell, like, at the end of the episode, they say to bind it in salt. And from henceforth, all of the episodes not just have a sci-fi element, but they also have a little bit of a fantasy element, which Doctor Who has never really had before. It was so much science and science fiction based that to have this kind of magical, whimsical, and mythology to it, you'll see it pop up more when we actually get to the first season, but it was so weird to me. It kind of threw me off for a little bit, but it threw me off for a little bit, but it's just something to, I guess, keep in mind, is that the Doctor invoking superstition at the edge of the universe does have an impact, so we will see a ripple effect. Just not a Manatee.
Dean Winchester would be proud. Okay.
I love how all these things y'all love are like merging. It's like worlds colliding.
Hulock. It's a thing.
It's an incursion.
Super Hulock. And I am super late to all of this because in 2005 I was in high school, not giving a damn about any of this stuff. So Christian, I always thought of Doctor Who as a tech wizard. He basically has a wand.
The Sonic is basically like a wand.
You're not wrong.
It's a screwdriver. You shouldn't be able to just point it at something and it does anything you want.
Yeah.
So it's a wand.
I did like when it was like, I have a sonic screwdriver and a regular screwdriver, or whatever he said. Like, I thought that was kind of funny.
That was funny.
Yeah.
That was clever.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
can jump into the giggle if you guys are ready.
Oh,
Let's
God.
go. The giggle. We meet the toy maker in this episode. And also, we start out with the time. We go back to 1925 Soho. We see kind of the origin of the toy maker. Now, Amber, my first question for you is: the toy maker is played by Neil Patrick Harris. Does an awesome job. Now, is he reprising a role that he played previously, or is this a new role?
Old character, new person playing the character.
Okay, cool.
Because the toy maker was actually from the very, very first Doctor. It was he appeared in season 3 of the original story. So in like 1966 is when he sorry, Victoria. I'm reading the comment that never mind how old people are, because it came out in 2005 and the current companion was 1 year old. Yeah, we'll get to Ruby Sunday, her age, in a minute.
Y'all didn't feel old then. Now you do.
Yeah. Now I'm getting now what my dad got when I started watching Doctor Who, and it hurts. I understand his behavior now, but the toy maker, the celestial toy maker, is basically a celestial god. They can alter
eternal,
reality.
right?
Yeah, eternal.
Yeah.
They can alter reality. They can alter everything. And there are other celestials. We do know of them. We've met some of them in like the Adventures of Sarah Jane Smith, which is a spin-off of Doctor Who. And but the toy maker, we saw him then, and the Doctor defeated him in the game, and which the Doctor and the toy maker do talk about this time. But he is basically a god. So it is. Some people have theorized that it's because of him invoking the salt in the end of the universe that it's kind of what released the Celestial Eternals. We don't know. That hasn't been confirmed, but that's kind of the theory, is that the Celestial Eternals were released because of that. And he is back. So it's Neil Patrick Harris, but this is Neil's first time being in Doctor Who in the universe, but the second time we've seen the character.
How often are Americans in Doctor Who? Like, given that this is like a very British, heavy British cast, it's obviously a BBC production. Like, how often are Americans sprinkled in throughout Doctor Who?
Once in a while, there was a character. Like Victor said, not often. There's some characters that are known, like Jack Harkness. He is from the previous season, but he will not be returning. He did return with the 13th Doctor, with Jodie Whittaker. That was a big surprise. But I think that's the last we're going to see of Jack Harkness. Sprinkled is a good choice of words. But also, isn't Andrew Garfield like the other Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Isn't he American? Yeah, he was in like one episode.
He's American born, but he was British raised. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah. So he's kind of
he's the Amazing Spider-Man. What do you mean he's the Amazing Spider-Man? Come on.
Yeah.
He's a Spider-Man. I'm sorry.
He's a Spider-Man. Yeah.
He is one of the Spider-Man.
He is one of them. Yes.
She's not wrong.
One of the 3. Yeah. Okay.
He was a baby in that, but he was so young. But he was in one episode.
I do have something to add on this real quick about the America stuff. So the USA all the way over here, right? These colors don't run, all that kind of stuff. No, no. So BBC. So the season that Matt Smith became the Doctor, that actually was the first time it aired on BBC America, from what I read.
Yeah.
And they actually filmed some of the episodes in the States, in Utah and in New York City. So interesting fact. Yeah.
The ones filmed in Utah take place in New Mexico.
Okay.
They're filmed in Utah, but it takes place in New Mexico.
Sure. Why not?
Truth and Consequences. Good. New Mexico. There we go. It's a town. Actually, what's interesting with the toy maker, though, and I think I was telling Brittany about this off screen while we were watching it, was that it is just wild to me that they chose to go with him, with the toy maker and him, for this introductory to a reboot, because those episodes from 1966 are lost. The BBC had there's several episodes of many shows, not just Doctor Who, that were affected, but there's some fires. They re-recorded over things. Sometimes they re-recorded over footage, so they only have the audio. So we don't like a huge chunk of the first and second Doctor's seasons, we don't have records of them anymore. Most of it is or we'll only have audio, and they're actually going to animate. They're working on that right now to animate to the audios, which is kind of cool.
It's a good workaround.
Yeah, but a huge majority of things, specifically like the Toymaker, because a lot of people who are new fans or fans of the 2005 reboot, like me, wanted to go back and were like, oh, we found out about the Toymaker, let's go back and watch him. You can't.
And you can't.
Because it is lost. And so how wild is that they chose not only to like bring somebody back, but somebody from 60 years ago that is a lost episode. We do not have access to it. I just think that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I mean, especially given that this is a reboot of a reboot, and then you're trying to attract new audience, period, like across the board, right? And so by introducing a character that has some presence, even though the original is not something that you can go back and reference, it's kind of like, okay, well, let's bring this character back, but kind of shape it into the image that we want it to be, to make it make sense in order to grab people's attention. And when you cast someone such as Neil Patrick Harris, it's kind of wild to me, because I was first of all, I just was not expecting an American to be in a BBC production, let alone this show. And when I saw him, I'm like, what? You know, like, which is funny because I had to step away real fast, and I'm walking through the living room, and my husband's over here watching Matrix 4, who has Neil Patrick Harris in it, and I'm like, okay, this is just a weird thing that's happening in time right now. So yeah, but to see NPH as the Toymaker with this like really botchy, I say botchy, but the German accent, it's not an easy accent to pull off, y'all. But just how like menacing he was, and then that damn laugh, oh my god, that giggle was driving me crazy. And I told Amber via text, I'm like, I don't know how much I can take this. Like, I really don't know how I might tap out. Like, I actually might tap out from Doctor Who altogether because of that giggle.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough for me. It was rough. And it's rough.
That was the point.
I slipped into a parallel universe. You know what? You're not wrong. It moves. You're not wrong. Yeah. What a time to be alive.
I will mention, and I'm not going to dive too much into it, but the Toymaker, the Celestial Toymaker back in the 60s, he was played by a white man, and his like outfit was very oriental, and it's kind of racist. So him having a German accent and going back and forth and very clearly joking, like being very unserious about it, that's kind of going off of how the Toymaker.
Okay.
Sure.
That
was just kind of to give the same vibe without outright putting him in Oriental outfits again, because we're not going to do that.
No, we're not.
2024. That's kind of cringy.
Yeah. So the bad accent, and not only was it just the German accent, then we eventually would see and hear him speak with like a French accent when
intentionally bad accents.
Bad accents, and then he reverts to like a British accent, which is actually not bad. I don't know if you know how long Neil Patrick Harris has had a British accent in his back pocket, but it wasn't bad. It was good. It was believable. I was like, oh, just speak like this. just keep speaking. The puppet thing, like these marionettes, I'm like, nope, this is too close to clowns. Nope. I'm again tapping out. Amber, I was doing this for you. Okay.
I know, but I didn't tell you about these things intentionally. I want it because I, for one, knew that you would like it. And then two, I had faith that you would get through it. And 3, I wanted to get your genuine reactions to them. But
Yeah, that
I don't
was
like puppets either.
Mm-mm.
But
The
it's
mother
more of a,
the
I
mother
don't care about them. I just like them.
the mother puppet approaching Donna in this house of horrors where, it's kind of like, they go through one door and they show up in a different hallway. It was kind of repetitive in a way of what had happened in the previous episode on that ship where, they're trying to locate each other and they just can't. They keep getting separated and so on and so forth. And that mother puppet was approaching Donna and I'm just like, no, can we like murk this puppet, like please bash her head in? And then the babies started falling from everywhere and they started attacking. I'm just like, no, this is too much.
But I'm glad Donna bashed her head in because good. But honestly, myself personally, I was more freaked out by the nothings in Wild Blue Yonder than the puppets. But that's just because the Uncanny Valley effect freaks me out more with something like that.
Yeah.
Than Fear of the Unknown and the Uncanny Valley, rather than just puppets. To me, is personally more scary. But what about you, Justin? What do you think?
I mean, the puppet stuff was pretty cool. I thought, as far as like visually, it looked great. I love the idea that the toy maker just likes to play games. Like, I love the quote about how, it's the never ending game. Everyone wins, everyone loses. Like, I like that stuff. I was surprised that we got Spice World or the Spice Up Your Life, the Spice Girls song, and
what
Neil Patrick Harris performing that song. I was not expecting that at all.
What an entrance. Okay, Justin, did you not think that tower for Unit was strikingly like Stark Tower?
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring it up. I didn't want it to sound weird, but let's talk about it. Yes.
Dude, it 100%.
The Unit building looks very much like Stark Tower, aka Avengers Tower, which got me thinking we're talking about Doctor Who, but what about Doctor Doom? Because with Robert Downey Jr. coming back to play Doctor Doom and the Marvel tie-in, is it all connected? Is it one big universe? Like, because that was a straight up rip off of Stark Tower. I'm sorry, Amber,
Unit has had that building for a while. I will say that, but Unit's pretty old.
But has it always looked like that?
Not couple years, but not. I'm pretty sure Stark Tower was before it.
I think Stark Tower precedes it.
How you were talking about things are connected. There are quite a lot of things that take place from like that. Other things take from Doctor Who, and not just things like that, but like I don't know if you know the show Outlander.
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, it's a book series. It's based off of a book series. The book series, the author actually is a fan of Doctor Who, and it was inspired because of it. Back in Classic Who, there was a companion named Jamie who was a Highlander, and wore a kilt while traveling, and she was really fascinated with this, so she wrote her own time travel romance about a Highlander named Jamie. So, like, if you're a fan of Outlander, the books or the show, you have Doctor Who to thank for its existence. And there's many things like that.
Of course.
Like,
yeah. I'm just saying, like, the design was very like.
No,
I noticed
it's
it right away.
100% a ripoff.
My first
it
note.
Was.
My first note under this episode: the Unit building looks just like Avengers Tower. That's what I wrote on my document right here. Again, I'm glad Brittany brought that up because I didn't want to derail with Marvel stuff. Yeah.
I texted Amber. I'm like, why does Unit Tower look exactly like Stark Tower from Avengers? Like, why?
Because it does.
Because it does.
Because it does.
So, I mean, we get the explanation as to why people are losing their minds here because the toy maker, or because the fact that the inventor of the television, the first thing that was on the what do you call it? Television waves, whatever you call it, was that puppet that was bought at the toy maker's emporium, and it's like possessed, right? You hear that stupid laugh that's in the background of all televisions, devices, anything that you can stream like video and audio from, right? And so once we get that explanation as to how that's impacting people, thinking that they're right, everyone else is wrong, and so it's just constant chaos. It's this game that we're playing, right? And then you get the wonderful entrance of the toy maker to Spice Girls. Um, is it Spice Up Your Life, or I don't know the title. And then Amber laid this bit of information on me that I do not believe at all. Amber, please.
I don't know. He was serious, but
tell the audience what you told me. I call bullshit on this. I'm sorry.
I call bullshit. Neil Patrick Harris said that he was actually unfamiliar with Spice Up Your Life when like proposed to that he had to do this performance.
I do not.
Who hasn't heard Spice Up Your Life?
I do not believe that. I don't care how old you are.
Is that their biggest hit though? Because like the Spice Girls is kind of strange. Like, what's their biggest hit? Wannabe? Like, if you want to be, that's probably their biggest hit, right?
Probably, but Spice Up Your Life, like that was the end song of their movie. Yeah. And that, like,
I'm just surprised. So I don't know.
I didn't see the movie. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Justin, I got it on VHS. I got you. Okay.
Do you have a VCR that I can borrow then? Because I don't have
probably. You know what? It's probably a VCR DVD combo. Booyah!
Dang.
I'm the oldest person on this pod. I don't have a VCR.
You're the oldest person on the planet. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. I love you.
Gonna live forever.
You will live forever.
I'm immortal.
What if I turned 30 since you guys last saw me on the pod? I turned 30.
That's true.
Happy birthday.
I'm 30 now.
Yeah.
Amber is officially part of the Dirty 30 Club. Welcome you with open arms.
Thank you.
Justin
30 and thriving.
There you go. Justin has left that club.
I've ascended to another level.
But what's funny with that they did Spice Up Your Life with that is that there was another character that they did use famous songs for. One of my favorite bad guys of the Doctor Who universe is the Master, another Time Lord, and the Master actually used the song Rasputin.
Rah, rah, Rasputin.
While dressed as Rasputin and basically cosplaying as Rasputin in actual Imperial Russia, and played that song and danced at the Doctor.
That is hilarious.
I'll send you the video because it's honestly,
I need to see it.
So, and it's my favorite Master. The one name is escaping me at the moment, but you know him. The one from who's also in The Great.
Yes. I can't think of his name, but he
was
also in Sherlock. He also had a role in Sherlock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he's Doctor Who has a way of doing that sometimes, but I loved it. It was so funny, and also the toy maker's using his like reality altering abilities throughout that. So it's like so weird that we're seeing a funny little dance music intro, but also to things that are kind of terrifying, like Kate's like, "What happened to my soldiers?" and the Doctor's like, "I'm sorry, they're dead."
Yeah, because they get they get turned into balls, like toys, like different. Like the guns are not firing off bullets; they're firing off like flowers or hearts or something that's totally
rose petals.
Right, something that totally would not like harm you. And I liked how the Doctor ended up calling that out to the toy maker towards the very end. He's like, you can turn bullets into flowers. Like, think of all the good that you could do. Why do you choose to do so many bad things instead? And it's like, yes, dude. Why? Why?
That's just how he exists. I don't know. The thing is that he's basically a god, and we can't really conceptualize what he is, much less why they do things.
Is he like Loki in the sense, a god of mischief? Like he just wants to, toy with people?
He is the literal personification of games.
Okay.
So we actually will see another Celestial in the very, very next episode of the first season that you guys are going to watch. So you will see another Celestial, and that one I'm going to keep it a secret for now.
Is it the Grand Master from Thor Ragnarok?
It's not
He
Jeff
was-
Goldblum.
He's a celestial, though. I mean,
You're right. That would actually be a perfect tie-in. But
also
no,
the what was on Nowhere? Benicio del Toro's character, the collector.
Collector.
He's also
Oh.
a celestial.
yeah.
Mhm. I'm
And
just
I'm telling
trying.
you, they all
to
have
tie
they
in.
have the definite article thing, like the
There you go.
the
Yeah,
collector,
sure.
There you go.
the doctor, the master, the
So-
toy maker.
So explain this once again, Amber, because I might have like missed it even when I was watching the show. When the toy maker is sitting in the like laser beam thingy mabobber, or whatever that was unit out there on the deck, he ends up harming the doctor, right?
Mhm.
Like he uses the laser beam and like pierces through the doctor, but like the doctor doesn't like die like how most people would just,
Yes.
they'd be obliterated or cut in half, like using a lightsaber or something, right?
Mhm.
It's because of this injury that it causes the doctor to then regenerate. Is that
Bi-generate, but yes.
generate in this case, but nonetheless,
Yes.
but it's because of like an injury that the doctor like dies or is dying, and
Yeah, it's
therefore-
basically it's a failsafe. If you're injured or dying, that all of the cells in your body will change. So,
Got Okay.
biologically, Time Lords are very interesting, but I'm not going to get into it. He has two hearts. I will say that.
yeah,
though.
he does have two hearts.
Yeah,
This
he has
is
two
true.
hearts.
Yes.
There are other things, but he like the fact that he can have that psychokinetic link to his TARDIS, but it's very. Yeah, that's just what they regenerate. And we do learn something from the previous Doctor Who, and they do touch about it, kind of sprinkled in throughout these specials, is the Timeless Child. We've gotten bits and pieces of the Doctor's childhood and life on Gallifrey from before the show started. We've gotten bits and pieces there. They went back and retconned all of it. Some people were very pissed off about it. And I'm still I'm not too sure how I feel about it. My dad full on hates it because it retcons 60 years of something, like he's really thrown off by it. But what they did is that basically the Doctor was, he talks about it a little bit more in the fourth special, but he was found by Tecteun, a Gallifreyan. He was found outside of rip in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's assumed that he is not even from this dimension. But it was a child. At that time, it was the Doctor wasn't even the Doctor. It was just called the Timeless Child. The Timeless Child was a little girl, a little black presenting girl, and Tecteun took the child and was taking care of it and raising it, took it back to Gallifrey, and the child fell off of a cliff while playing with a friend and regenerated. And Tecteun was a scientist, as most Gallifreyans are. They're all nerds. Tecteun started experimenting about what this regenerative ability was, and after multiple regenerations, in studying it, Tecteun found a way to find that genetic link, and at the founding of Time Lords and Gallifrey, they put that into their genetic code. So the Doctor is but the Doctor is that child. The Doctor is the Timeless Child. They wiped their memory. So the first Doctor is not actually the first incarnation that we know. Time Lords they gave them the regenerative ability into their DNA, but they restricted it to only 12 times.
Okay.
The Doctors obviously were on 14th and 15th Doctor.
Right.
The reason how we got around that was that he did some like Time Lord saving or whatever, and the Time Lords granted him another round, another 12. But so then they would go back and retcon this, so it didn't matter anyway. So yeah, the Timeless Child is kind of a. Some people love it, some people hate it. I really don't care, but they are going with it, so they're working around it. But yeah, the Doctor was shot, laser beamed, and he was regenerating, and for some reason, I regenerated. That it, like he mentioned, it is a myth on Gallifrey. That's never happened before. So
Interesting.
Which, yeah. So we get 2 Doctors at once. We get 14 and 15. We meet 15. This is his debut, correct?
yeah,
Yep.
his debut, and we can kind of chalk it up to so what helps me sleep at night is thinking because of the invoking superstition and releasing the Toymaker, like how he was able to double the TARDIS because of the Toymaker's influence. I think that's the reason, because the Toymaker was there. I think that is the reason that the bi-generation happened.
Interesting.
But we won't know until 15 regenerates. So yeah.
And with 2 Doctors, they're able to defeat the Toymaker in a game of what was it, like catch? Right?
Catch.
Yeah.
Catch the ball.
It's the first game or the first toy or something or other.
First game in the world.
There you go. And it's just so simple. You get a ball and you toss it to each other until someone loses a grip on it and the game's over. Like, that's just what it is. So something so simple, so basic. And man, these men were just putting everything into it. I'm like, good Lord, calm down. I like how one point the ball was tossed from one Doctor to the other, and he's like, I'm on your side. It's like, I'm sorry. You know, it's kind of funny.
Most intense game of, like, what did I tell you, Brittany? Like, sometimes the intense things are silly, and sometimes the silly things are intense.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. We kind of jumped over it, but there is a moment that I want to talk about with the Doctor, with the Toymaker, when they were in that labyrinth kind of thing. The Toymaker is kind of mocking the Doctor by using puppets and talking about what happened to previous companions. He doesn't mention Rose. He only mentions the companions after Donna. He doesn't mention Rose, doesn't mention Martha. But after
Martha.
Donna was...
Sorry.
Martha.
Martha means something completely different for us here on the Watchers.
Yeah, I could say, why'd you say that name?
Good.
Go ahead.
Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So the first one he talks about is Amy Pond, because after he had to wipe Donna's memory, he traveled alone for a little bit, but he ended up regenerating into 11, Matt Smith. And Matt Smith met Amy Pond. Amy Pond was a great companion, and her boyfriend, fiance, eventually husband in the series. There's a season of just Amy and the Doctor, and then there's another season with Amy, her husband Rory, and the Doctor. So they don't mention Rory, but both of them were touched by weeping angels, a creature I will not talk about too much because we don't need to know about it unless they come up. But it basically sends you back in time, and then they feed off of the years you could have lived. So that's why the Doctor said she died of old age. And the Toymaker was like, well, that's all right then, because no matter what, they all have tragic endings, and that's kind of what the Toymaker was making fun of. But then there was Clara, and Clara, he jokes that Clara was killed by a bird, but it was a time lock manifestation thing that she gave her life for somebody else. And she did die, but the thing that goes and kills you at that time of death to sacrifice yourself takes the manifestation of a bird. So,
okay,
like, the fact that he said was killed by a bird, I was kind of like gutted a little bit, but also like, that shouldn't be funny. Ow. And Bill was turned into a Cyberman. Cybermen are humans, but they Cybermen are robots. They look like just a suit, man in suit robot thing. But they are human brains, human bodies, and corpses, but they take out human emotions. The only emotions Cybermen feel are rage. And Bill was unintentionally abandoned by the Doctor and turned into a Cyberman. So very, very tragic. And like, it's just, he's going off in this way, like mocking the Doctor, but it's also like so flippant and how like he does it that I'm just like, I feel like I'm being slapped in the face here. Because like, just thank you for reminding me of all of this trauma. But yeah, it's dangerous traveling with the Doctor. It's because he loves humans, but humans are fragile.
Exactly. Now this episode ends with the Doctor, the 10th Doctor, the 14th Doctor getting a family, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the last time we're going to see this Doctor?
We joke about, because this is like what, the 4th or 5th time we've seen David Tennant come back to Doctor Who. We joke that like for what, the 70th anniversary is going to come out, and the 90th anniversary it's like old man David Tennant. We joke about it, but I'm fairly certain this is the last time that we're going to see.
Oh wow! Okay,
it's the kind of general consensus.
It seemed like it was a goodbye. You know, like he's no longer going to be on the adventures of traveling. I mean, he keeps his TARDIS, which is great, but he seems like he's going to finally accept settling down and having a family. He accepted Rose as his niece. Donna's his best friend. Her husband's his brother-in-law. He has an evil stepmother or something like that, and it was like that was hilarious. But like it just seemed like no, this is what I need to do now. You know, even though Donna was saying like you don't have to stay forever, and he goes, no, he goes, I do. Like, you know, I do. And I mean, granted, I don't have the love that Amber and the rest of the fandom share. I'm sure it tore people apart where they're watching this episode unfold and it's like saying goodbye. But for me, as a newcomer to this show, it's like, okay, like he's done. Like this is wrapped. Like we've put a bow, and you know, that's all there is to it. Now we're gonna move on to the new Doctor, who made quite the entrance. I will say, once he bi-generated and came into his own, and he's just wearing a shirt, tie, and sneakers and some underwear. Like, whoa.
Well, their outfits split.
I know. I saw that their outfits split. I was just like, interesting. Like, this guy's got really nice legs. Like, I like it. You know, he's got very nice legs.
Fit.
Very fit. And he was great. I think he was wonderful.
I think I told you while we were watching it that like when the first time I watched that kind of goodbye to David Tennant as the Doctor, I was sobbing. Like I could not see the screen because I was crying. Just because like, yeah, the 9th Doctor was my first Doctor, and I love Christopher Eccleston. Don't get me wrong. I love the 9th Doctor. Doesn't get nearly enough love as David Tennant, but for me, when I think of the Doctor and I imagine the Doctor, it is David Tennant. It's the 10th Doctor. It is his face. And that kind of a goodbye, because David Tennant has a lot of personal, like I mentioned, he has a lot of really personal history with Doctor Who. There's his parents say that they remember him watching and being a fan of Doctor Who as early as 3 years old. And Doctor Who is what made him want to become an actor. And he was like already in like performing arts colleges and like age 16, I think. And his lifelong dream was to be the Doctor. Like there's a college or high school photo of him one Halloween dressed as the 4th Doctor with the like really long 12-foot long scarf. He has a huge history with Doctor Who. His dream was just to be on it, and not only that, but he plays the Doctor, and it was just that, and he also one of his favorite Doctors actually they hurt the daughter, the actor had a daughter, and she was a guest star in an episode of the reboot with him, and they met, and they are currently married and have children together. They have 5 children, and it's so funny because the doctor's daughter married another doctor, and they have daughters, and it's just his life and his family are so involved in Doctor Who. I mean, it's there. I saw a very, very funny clip of a game show David Tennant was in, and they were asking David Tennant hard classic Who Doctor Who questions while they were asking the other team easier Doctor Who questions. And one of the questions was about his father-in-law, and even the other contestant he was playing against was like, "That's his bloody father-in-law!" Like, that's not fair. And it's just, he's like, "Imagine if I get it wrong." He didn't, but his life and his being, and like so much of him and his core is tied up in Doctor Who. So, like, it's even kind of a thing that when 10 regenerated into 11, he gave this beautiful speech, because most of them do, like, as they're kind of regenerating, they usually give like a farewell speech. And David Tennant's was it wasn't really scripted, but his was at the end he was crying during it, and that wasn't scripted. He was crying during his goodbye, and he unscripted said, "I don't want to go." And that's when he regenerated, and it's so sad. But he did. He did. He just had to move on with his life, and now he has to move on from 14. And like Matt Smith's was just like, his was like, "I will always remember when the Doctor was me." And it's just, regenerations are hard. And I'm kind of relieved that for a reboot, we get a regeneration so fast, because I think that will save a lot of pain for people, because a lot of times with regenerations, you get attached to a doctor and you love them and you really, really love them and you don't want them to regenerate. But I think it was a solid goodbye for that. And I am so in love with Ncuti Gatwa as 15. So
yeah, good transition, because David Tennant, it's like he's passing the torch. Like, you want to have one of your more popular doctors pass it on to the new one to really put the new one over. So I think that was really well done. Let's get to the Christmas special, which again aired on Christmas Day 2023. However, it's also the first episode of the season. So little double action here from this episode. The main part of this episode is we meet Ruby Sunday. And Brittany, I want to get your thoughts. What did you think about this character, who is very unlucky, she thinks, for much of the episode?
I mean, she really was. Not because of her own doings. It's the very fact that she just so happened to be a child who had been abandoned, and there was a lot of like coincidences that would happen that drew the attention of these creatures that were causing these bad luck events to happen in her life, but not just in her life, but also like in that of someone that she met. And what we learned was she was born on Christmas Eve. She was left at a church by her birth mother, whom we don't learn anything about other than the fact that, she abandoned her child at a church. And that has some significance, period. Because Ruby is fostered by her mother, who's fostered, 30 plus other children as well. Ruby was the only one who stuck. And on Christmas Eve of the year that we're watching this, there's a new baby that comes into the family who needs to be fostered, Lulu Bell, which is a really cute name. I like the dynamic that everyone, Ruby, her mother, think like, "Oh, it's a terrible name. It's just, who would do that to a child?" And then the doctor, when he finally hears a name, "Oh, it's such a great name!" Like, just the different like mentality of it all. But because these children were abandoned and whatnot, it draws the attention of goblins who like to gobble up babies apparently, and they come and abduct these abandoned kids, and they go feed the Goblin King. That musical number was unexpected, kind of catchy as
By
hell
all of
though.
us.
Yeah, kind of catchy as hell though. I When we heard Goblin, I'm like, oh God, please don't let this be like the Goblin thing that we saw in The Hobbit, because that thing was disgusting. Thankfully, it was not anything like that. It still was Jabba the Hutt, like but Baloo, basically.
But that
It's
song is a
just
bop. That song's
the
great.
song is a bop. Like it was bad. And then you get the Doctor with Ruby, because they're going after the goblins. They get into their ship, and they're trying to rescue Lulubelle, and the Doctor is like, hey, play that music for me. And he starts improvising and singing, and Ruby does too. And it was a great distraction to try and get Lulubelle back. But I was surprised with the twist and turn that this episode took, with by taking back Lulubelle. The goblins weren't going to stop. They came back, but they went back in time, and they took Ruby, therefore causing a change in the timeline, a change in the history, where things were changing as the Doctor remained in that apartment. That the mother had no recollection of who Ruby was. Like, everything about their lives were completely changed because Ruby was not in their lives, because Ruby had been taken as a baby back in time. So that was an interesting twist. It was one that kept my attention. But of course, everything was going to work out in the end. And I was like, this is a really interesting episode. Like, what a kickoff for a new Doctor to come in and kind of really make a name for himself.
Yeah, Amber, what'd you think about the episode?
Christmas specials are actually kind of a trademark thing of Doctor Who. We always have Christmas specials. It's so normal. It's the only holiday specials we really get, other than the anniversary specials. So I wasn't really surprised that they did. And they usually are pretty good. Like, I actually really like the Christmas specials a lot. But I really like seeing this, and some other things that I do want to touch on, like how I mentioned before, that he's doing things that he's changing. He's coming up with things that kind of backfired on him in previous incarnations. That anti-gravity glove. The first companion, Rose, she was sucked into a parallel universe, and her and the Doctor were romantically involved, and she's trapped in another dimension because she was holding on to something. She was holding on. All of them were holding on, and she basically couldn't hold on any longer, and she lost her grip and was sucked into a portal. And it's just, yeah. So the fact that he made an anti-gravity glove is like, oh, you made something that could have saved Rose. And it's something that's like, it's fine and dandy for like new watchers, but for me, I'm like, ow, you could have saved Rose. It's just the things that he's doing that intentionally, because he's like, oh, I'm coming up with things that because I'm not going to lose somebody like that again for that same thing. I'm not going to do that again. I don't want to have that pain again. And I understand it, but I feel it too, man. I really, really liked it. There is actually a lot of references to other things. Rose specifically, like I said, she haunts the narrative. Like what that building that had the snowman on top, that ends up falling and almost crushing Ruby and her friends. That building was the building that Rose worked in, and the building that had blown up that the Doctor had fixed. Like in the very, very first episode, it's the same building. And it's like, And also, Rose was a 19-year-old blonde girl, like
Oh, okay.
like
Like Ruby.
Like Ruby.
like Ruby.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and like kind of what the doctor said in the giggle when introducing Donna's daughter Rose and Ruby, like being like 2 different shades of red. It's like there's so many echoes of her. I'm telling you, Rose haunts the narrative. But it's I really really liked the episode because I thought it was fun, and it also shows too goblins. He says very clearly they are goblins. They are not a type of alien. That's fantasy. That's not sci-fi. So I'm like, we are really seeing the impact of that damn salt.
Oh my God. It's all the salt's fault.
It is. It's the salt's fault.
That's hilarious.
I don't know. I just think it's really, really interesting, and I really liked seeing it because he has such a good energy as the Doctor, and I also thought it was kind of a nice way to make parallels between him being adopted by Tecteun, and but being like what Ruby and her mom do with fostering. It's just
coincidence.
Yeah, and that's kind of why the Doctor said like I was adopted or whatever, and he's like I actually just found out recently because 13 found out about it.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Like, I will say that when these two first meet, the Doctor and Ruby, they're like at a club, you know, and Ruby's just enjoying a drink. She's watching the people dance, and there's this you know, attractive man dancing his little heart away in a kilt and just spinning around, just like, hey, you know, like it was so much fun watching him. I'm like, okay, like I can get down with this guy too, you know. It was funny. Yeah, I love that energy. I loved how he came over to save her with the knocking over the glass because the goblins had come and moved the glass closer to the edge of the table, and just him, you know, paying attention and watching her and kind of looking after her. I thought it was neat. It's kind of stalkerish, but kind of neat at the same time.
Yeah, if he knows something's weird, he will notice it and he'll follow it. And it's just kind of he has done that with other characters. Like because he's technically trying to help unobstructedly help as best he can. If something comes his way, and he just noticed that there was something off and something around Ruby, so he was circling that. And I did like, this is a very small little tidbit, but like when he was talking to that cop, and he said like my thing went ding, and it like my thing beeped, and it because of the diamond or whatever. That's I thought, I don't know for sure if this was a reference, but there's with David Tennant, with the 10th Doctor's run, that he has a machine and it does ding, and he's like, somebody asked what it was, and he's like, this is my machine or whatever. He's like, it dings when there's stuff. Okay. That's all you need to know. And it's just like, to me, like with him just being like, my thing just went
more
ding.
Questions, but okay.
That's all you need to know. But like the fact that that he's just like, my thing just went ding, and I'm like, I just heard David Tennant be like, it dings when there's stuff. God. I'm like, is this the same thing? Did it ding because there's stuff?
Well, I mean, they're connected obviously because they
are the same person.
They bi-generate. Well, yeah, of course, but like those two literally split in two, right?
But that's 14. That's 14.
Oh, but 10 is 14,
she's referring to the other
right
version of
right. But isn't 10 also 14, right?
It's all the same character, but
different actors.
10th Doctor didn't have all of the experience. There's about 600 years difference between 10 and 14. Okay. So this 14, not only does he physically look older because David Tennant aged, but he is literally older. Like he has all of he has all of the pain and love and experiences that 11, 12, and 13 had.
Justin, you know what just popped in my head? It's like, wow, Paul Rudd finally aged.
There we go. Deadpool Wolverine joke. Awesome.
I heard about that joke and I
Off the
died.
cuff, man.
Have you not seen
Well,
it
that
yet?
and
Amber?
no, I haven't. Will wanted to see it this weekend, and then we weren't able to see it this weekend because he kept procrastinating on buying seats. And then by the time he actually looked at seats, it was later in the evening, and then all of the seats were taken except right in front of the screen, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
And
Valid.
And that's why you go early morning like I did.
I
Matinee.
try. I keep telling him, but he doesn't. I'm like, hey, if you want to go see it, you need to buy the tickets like now. And he doesn't.
Well,
So
y'all should definitely go see it because it's great. It's a lot of
Amazing.
fun. I've
We
seen
might
it 3
tomorrow.
times. Yeah. Well, that'll be fun. Yeah.
Yay.
But no, I've enjoyed this show, and not that we're done talking about this episode per se, but I really enjoyed watching these episodes. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this because it was something that obviously I've heard of, but I didn't know anything about. Literally, do nothing about it. Right, nothing at all. And it was pretty easy for me to kind of jump in this world. And obviously, I don't have the understanding that Amber does, and I probably never will. But I thought it was for a newbie watcher. I was able to follow it pretty easily, without, some of the stuff obviously I'm not going to get, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. Brittany, do you have any other thoughts about this episode?
No, I think it was a great episode for the solo time that the new Doctor has, and just like I said, to make a name for himself and what have you. I was impressed by him. Like I said in the very beginning, the first special, I'm just like, I don't know if this is for me. I really like I with the things that I watch these days, I'm really trying to go in with like an open mind and not have any expectations, because then you're just like setting yourself up for disappointment. And so I knew how much Doctor Who meant to
Cough,
Amber. And I'm
cough,
like,
Percy Jackson, cough, cough.
yeah, I have it. Yeah, that's beside the point. But no,
just mentioning.
I know, and you're not wrong. I knew how much, of course, Amber wanting to do a pod over Doctor Who, and it's like, we're gonna make that happen. We're gonna for sure make that happen. I definitely wanted to give the true, honest effort because of that. I'm still personally a little like on the fence. Like, I'm not sure if this is gonna really be my jam. However, that could very well change after watching the first season with this new Doctor. And I maybe it's because of the fact that when the specials aired, watching the specials, it was because of a previous Doctor that already has like a huge following, and I'm like, I know nothing, and I feel like I don't deserve to be here because I know nothing. But now that we have like this new Doctor, it's like, okay, maybe I can get behind this one because this is new. It's a clean slate, like new adventures, new companion. It's like, okay, maybe this is this right here could be a better fit. Because I like the campiness. I like, just the production still staying true to its origins, if you will. However, maybe throwing in some fantasy sort of elements and what have you. I'm giving it a fair shot. Let's just keep it right there. I'm watching it. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and we'll see where I feel at the very end of season 1 review.
Sounds good. We have a question in the chat that maybe Amber can answer from Grant G. Do you know Dr. Freedom?
Nope.
Is that not a Doctor Who character?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I don't recognize it. Is it a superhero? Because talk to him.
Right, talk to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not familiar with that character. Although it is interesting because, the Toy Maker we talked about earlier, there's a DC Comics character called the Toy Man, also a villain, a Batman villain mostly. So
the Toy Man.
The Toy Man, yeah.
I actually, when I was talking once about to one of my friends, she also doesn't know really anything about Doctor Who, and it's all just me talking about it. I mentioned the Toy Maker. I just said like Neil Patrick Harris is plays the toy maker, and their first thought was the toy maker from the first Spy Kids movie.
There we go.
Oh,
Yeah, and they're like, they thought that Doctor
Oh.
Who got the toy maker from that, and I'm like,
oh,
toy maker is from the 60s, friend. If anything, Spy Kids got it from that. From Doctor Who.
wow, that is
Oh,
Spy
thank you,
Kids.
Grant.
Yes, very nice comment from Grant. So apparently Dr. Freedom is a chat group guy. Unfamiliar, but we'll look into that for sure. Thanks for letting us know. Appreciate you being here too. Yeah, that's hilarious about the toy maker. And God, I'm spacing on his name right now because he was also considered to be in Harry Potter back in the day. Alan Cummings was the actor. So that's hilarious. It's like, no.
Yeah, and I was just like, no. Because I completely forgot about that toy maker too, but that's
Yeah.
It was very, very funny. There's definitely, and like we were talking about before with other, like the Grandmaster and the Collector and stuff like that. It's funny. But
So, Amber, do you have any final thoughts on the episode, the church on Ruby Road? Anything else that we didn't mention that you want to talk about?
Well, not really, because I'm really excited for the new season and I don't want to spoil certain things. I really do like Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor. I really want to, I really want to see how you guys react to certain things, especially because like there are certain episodes that are just great. We have sorry, my thing was lagging. I'm just really excited for everything, and I'm really excited. Like I'm honored that you guys like gave this a chance. But I do.
We said we would.
Like, I know, but I'm just really like glad that you guys do, because I can't really talk to anyone but my dad about this. So
The watcher
really,
keeps
really
his or her word. That's one of our many slogans that we haven't put out there in the world. So,
and I do agree with you, Brittany. I think like actually going in with 15 and seeing him with the fresh slate, like he is your ninth Doctor, really. So it's going to be, he's going to formulate how you're going to view the show with this first season. And like I think the 14th, everything with the 14th Doctor and the first three specials was mostly like for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the rest of the stuff is going to be for you guys. And
Right.
Like the new Whovians, which I don't like the fact that the fandom's called Whovians. I think we should have been called Hooligans.
Whovians gives me Dr. Seuss, like Cindy Lou Who, Whovians.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think it should have been Hooligans myself. But yeah, we are Whovians.
Silly.
Yeah, I think it's just really, really great, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. and I was trying to explain as much as I had. So like, if there are any other questions or things that you think about, we didn't talk about it during the giggle, but the toy maker references the master.
With the tooth.
Yes,
trapping him in the gold tooth. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, the gold tooth. Who picked up the gold tooth at the very end of that episode? Like someone with painted red nails. That's all I know. And I'm trying to think, was it one of the past companions that we got to meet in Unit, or someone from Unit, or just like I'm very curious. Like
we don't know. I sent in our personal text messages chat, I sent Brittany like a gif of Elmo just shrugging because I'm like, I'm not being cheeky. I really just don't know.
Oh wow. Okay.
We don't know. That hasn't been. But Doctor Who does that. Like they'll drop things that will pop up like sometimes multiple seasons later.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah. The show's old, man.
No, I get that, but like I don't want to be old and then find out who actually like picked up that damn gold tooth. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Like,
not going to be that long. Doctor Who is not like where it takes 3 years for them to film something.
okay, so this isn't Sherlock. Okay, fine. That's fine.
It's, I have trauma with Sherlock. You know that.
I know, and I was lucky enough to at least be able to watch all 3 seasons before Abominable Bride came out, and then the 4th season came out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
yes, I know.
All I know is whoever picked up that tooth, don't go to the doctor. Go to like a dentist or an orthodontist because that's what you need to do. Okay.
There
Also-
are some theories. I can tell you that.
Well, I want to know why the toy maker had so many teeth. That was
He's
disturbing.
not human.
Except them
Well,
chompers.
I know. Like, good lord.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's more of just the messing. Like they did that intentionally to be like kind of a gag. One theory that I've seen a lot of people favor is because there is an incarnation of the Master that is played by a woman. The Master was regenerated into Missy. We call her Missy because she goes by Missy and as mistress instead of the Master. Missy ends up. Missy has red nails primarily throughout the times that we see Missy, but Missy, she regenerated into the Master that I've talked to you about, Brittany. So like we thought if she's going back, then we were going back to a previous regeneration with her. So I personally don't think it's the Master picking up another Master in the tooth because that wibbly wobbly timey wimey. But there's other people who think that it's another character that you'll see in episode 2 or the episode 1, whatever. The next thing you're going to watch.
Right.
Yeah, we'll go that up in a second. Yeah.
I agree with Grant. I've always loved the Master, regardless. Cause she is just amazing. I love that character and pretty much every iteration of the Master. I always just love that funky little Time Lord. He's my darling little maniac, and I love him. So we don't. But that's the thing with the Master is the Master dies, and he's also the Time Lord. So we see them come back all the time.
Yeah. It moves sums it up. So we have a
She
Time
did it
Lord,
very well. Yeah.
a God Cold toy maker, and many teeth and an alien. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Also,
Multiple
humans.
aliens.
Yeah. And
Also,
Avengers Tower, it's just not called that.
And multiple aliens. And goblins.
Right.
And the Meep.
The Meep.
That's an alien.
It's an alien.
Well,
Furry
I
alien.
think it's more compelling to say the Meep versus an alien, but
The
that's
Meep,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get one more question. One more question from the chat. Grant G here with, this is for Amber, obviously. Do you think the Cybermen will go through another change?
God, I hope not, but probably. I don't like them. I don't like them. They're boring to me. I like out of all of the villains that we see throughout, I guess, villains, the not nice aliens that I guess we see, are they aliens even though they're humans?
Well, I mean,
anyway,
the Time Lord is an alien, right? The Doctor. Yeah. So yeah.
But
you're the expert here. You tell
I
us.
don't know. They're humans. They were humans, and it's just like you took the human corpse and put it in a robot suit and deleted their emotions.
So, no, wait. What was it in Bicentennial Man?
They're dead people.
An android.
Technically.
Android. Yeah. So
I just don't really know. But technically, I think Cybermen. That's the whole thing. Is they constantly upgrade. They are upgraded humans. Because they upgraded themselves so they don't have organ failure. So they have the suit. They don't die. They have they go through. But they delete emotions and stuff like that. It's called upgrading. So I definitely think Cybermen are going to come back eventually at some point. I really hope they don't. Really, really hope they don't. Because they're boring. I don't know. I'd rather see a Dalek or a Weeping Angel before I see a Cyberman.
We will find out, though. And for those of you who want to join us in watching along, next week we're going to discuss the first 5 episodes of season 1, quote unquote, of Doctor Who, which is on Disney Plus. Now, if you're watching, like we said, the Christmas special that we just spoke about is also considered season or episode 1. So we're going to talk about episodes 1 through 5, but really we're going to talk about 2 through 5 since we are talking about episode 1 tonight. So I know it's kind of confusing, but just watch the first 5 episodes if you want to be with us next week. And, there's a way that you can keep up with us. We don't know exactly when we're going to do our next episode, but it will be next week. But Brittany, how can people find out exactly when we'll be back to talk about the next 4 episodes of Doctor Who?
Simple thing, y'all. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go hit that subscribe button. While you're at it, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, that like button. It helps out our channel a whole heck of a lot. And lastly, the most important button of all is to hit that notification bell. That way you know the next time we will go live here on YouTube. We enjoy doing our live streams. We've been doing this for quite some time since we rebooted this podcast during quarantine about 4 years ago almost. And we've been having a great time because we get to interact with you, the audience. So shout out to Grant, shout out to M Moves, shout out to King B Johnson and Christian of McDorks who were here in today's chat. We really appreciate y'all taking the time out of your day to join us. Also Soul Nate, how can I forget Soul Nate? And Rahib. Thank y'all once again for being here. We very much enjoy getting y'all's comments, taking your questions, and just getting feedback from y'all as always. But go ahead and subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. About 60% of those who watch our live streams are not subscribed. So do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Favor? Wow, I'm tired. Favor and subscribe. We're on the road to 400 subscribers, and we're just a few subs away. So help make that happen, especially to those new and joining us in today's live chat. We also have social media. You can go check out those details here in our About section on YouTube, as well as we've got audio podcasts. So find us on Apple and Spotify. Give us a follow and give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. And when our Time Lord Amber is not joining us on here, she can be found other places. Amber, would you like to plug your YouTube channel?
I would love to. Thank you. My channel is All of Amber's Wands. It is about the Harry Potter wands, but all wands in general. I go through the cultural, symbolic, and historical meaning of the wood and the magical beast that the core comes from, and I compare that to the characters from Harry Potter. Or if we don't know what their wand, core, and wood are, I take an educated guess based off of those things. And it's just very fun talking about it. I collect them and I show off the wand as well and talk about the cool key features of it. And it's very, very fascinating. And I have been taking a bit of a hiatus in the past year and a half, but in the next month or so, intend to get back into filming. So there will be some new episodes yet, but I haven't. I'm here on YouTube as All of Amber's Wands, like Ollivander, but with Amber. And the other ones are, I'm also on All of Amber's Wands on Tumblr, Instagram, and TikTok. I need to do more on TikTok, honestly. But if you want to chat with me about wands, Doctor Who, anything and everything, really, I'm a fan of many things. You can find me at All of Amber's Wands on Instagram.
Thank you very much, Amber. Appreciate it. Always great to have you join us. So for Amber, for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.